So welcome back, everybody. In today's episode, we're going to try something new this year. Traditionally, we've always grown our new potatoes in the ground, and in the past, we've been growing them in our large raised garden bed back here. Problem is, I've been experiencing a lot of ant issues. We have them like crazy down here in the south, and I wind up with a lot of damaged potatoes. It's kind of got me a bit discouraged. So this year, we're going to try something new. We're going to plant in containers. That may help with some of the insect problems. And we have decided the big raised bed back there this year that we traditionally plant potatoes in, we're going to put something else in there that's going to be a little more convenient because it's up high and good for our lower back. Now, we don't eat a lot of potatoes, so the containers make sense this year. If we were going to grow a lot of them, we'd probably do long beds that we'd hill in the ground and grow them like we always traditionally have. So I've been curious to try this. We picked up some large containers from Tractor Supply on clearance last fall, so I think these are going to be really good to try this. Let me show you how I plant our new potatoes. So I picked up what's called a seed potato from our local feed and seed store. So if you take a look at these, they're already starting to sprout like crazy. A seed potato is whatever style potato that you're looking for. These happen to be new potatoes. You get white new potatoes, red new potatoes, or you can plant other types as well. But you see these little sprouts that are popping up, we always refer to them as eyes around here. Every single one of those can start a new potato plant. Now I've gotten more than enough seed potatoes in there that I can plant them whole. But what you'll see a lot of people do to make a potato go a long ways like this, I like to find one that's got several really good eyes like this, and you can cut this right in half. Now we can get 2 potato plants out of this. You could actually cut it in half again and get 4. But again, we have so many seed potatoes, they were really cheap. I caught them on sale. We're just gonna plant them whole this year. Now where it gets a bit controversial, a lot of people say this new cut and exposed area, you need to let it dry and actually physically scab over in order to protect your potato when you plant it in the soil. But I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. Since I was a child, we've been cutting potatoes and planting just like this, putting straight in the soil with this fresh cut. And every single year, y'all watch the channel, I have 0 problems with all of my potatoes coming up. But if you want a little extra protection from rot, insects, and other things, cut your potatoes, let them dry. As soon as they get a leathery kind of feel and scab over on the outside on the cut section, you're ready for planting. Now the other thing you can do is you can take and plant these whole. There's nothing wrong with doing that, especially if you get a really good deal like I did. See, I can make 2 potato plants right here, or I can just put this single potato in their whole, which is what we're going to do today, and these will grow just fine. Now again, I'm using these very large containers that I got from Tractor Supply. You could use 5-gallon buckets, other types of containers. Now I will say I do like to do them early. As soon as I know we're done with the risk of the last frost, which we're getting at that point in Florida right now, even though we had a frost a few days ago, the long range forecast looks good. I'm okay with going ahead and planting. These types of potatoes do not like the heat, so the earlier you can plant, the better. I like to plant them while it's still a little cool and as soon as we're slipping into spring. No matter what size container that you use, it's very important that you drill holes in the bottom. And this goes for planting just about anything. So I drilled quite a few 1/2-inch holes in the bottom of this. That's because we get so much rain, or when you're watering, you don't want the water level to hold in here and potentially rot out the vegetable itself. That will happen if you don't allow for some free drainage. You don't want it sitting in literally a puddle of soupy soil and water down beneath. So what's also very important with potatoes is hilling the potato. This is the zone where you're going to make your potato itself. So we're going to hill dirt to it. So we're going to plant our potatoes today. We're going to leave some room to bring soil back later, and that area that we're adding soil to the shoots that come up, that's the zone to where new potatoes are going to be formed, and the better you hill, the better your yield. So what that means is all of these containers that are mostly full is not going to work for us because there's nowhere for us to come back and actually add soil to this to hill up. So I'm going to take several inches of soil out of these 3, put in this one, maybe throw some in these other beds, and then we're going to plant our potatoes down shallow and leave us about 6 inches of room where we can come back and hill later. Again, we'll go over this process in just a second. And on a pot this size, I'm probably going to put 3 potatoes and no more. On a 5-gallon bucket, 1 to 2 potatoes will be fine. You don't want to overcrowd because a single potato will actually grow out a mound of additional potatoes. So we want to give them room to do that. So we'll probably go somewhere right about there with one of our cut potatoes, over here with another cut potato. And again, I told you we'll actually use a full potato here because I have so many of them. We'll just kind of space them all out like that, not putting them directly on the edge. So I'm going to come down roughly 3 inches, give or take. Plant our potato and just kind of firmly pack. So you can see what a typical tuber or shoot looks like. I don't usually plant when they've started growing this long, but look what's happening right here. We're starting to get the little roots and feelers to come off. This is what's going to happen underneath the soil in a few weeks. Once we plant, a small eye like this will come out. This is what we're going to have completely healed up, and all these little runners or shoots that come off right here is where we're going to start forming small potatoes growing out. That's why healing potatoes are so important. This is the zone up to about this amount right here where we're going to start creating all those potatoes. So I'll just find me another potato that seems relatively healthy. I'd like to see at least 2 good eyes. Here's another one that looks really good. We'll put it over here. And you can see why I got these potatoes on sale. They're already starting to sprout. You see what we got going on here with all the roots starting to form and the sprouts going out. These are a little too far gone, but the discount I got, that's okay. So it doesn't get much more simple to that. So quick recap. We remove the soil so we can heal later. We've planted our potatoes about 3 inches deep, and in the next week to 2 weeks we'll watch, the little shoots should start coming out above the soil. We're gonna let those grow up several inches before we start adding additional soil back to this pot. If you were in the ground, you would just start pulling soil up to the plant itself. You can heal 1 to 2 times. So we'll probably come back and add 2 to 3 inches to the shoot as it's coming up. You want to make sure you always leave some above the soil. Then it'll continue to grow, maybe say another 3, 4, or 5 inches. We might add another 6 inches of soil, heal for a second time, and we're going to call it good at that point. The plant's going to continue to grow up. It's going to flower out. That's your sign that the magic has happened right there. And then once we start seeing that plant go from a dark green to a yellow or somewhat dying off, it's time to dig down, check and see if your potatoes are filled out. You don't want to wait too long or you can actually rot your potatoes, but that yellowing and signs of dying is your sign to pull your potatoes. All right, so Tiffany and I are about to actually plant the full garden, so you may want to stay tuned or subscribe if you want to see the progress of our raised bed garden and how these potatoes are doing over the next many, many weeks. Thanks for watching.